I sometimes feel like the checklist gets a bad rap. Everybody, and in fact, you and I probably have already done it, where you say, well, that's the check the box approach,
Right.
and it's almost used disparagingly. And sometimes I think about checklists and check boxes. People in very high stakes jobs rely on checklists in order to make sure you're getting coverage.
Right.
When a pilot takes off, they've got a checklist. Surgeons have a checklist.
Yeah.
These are they serve a very important purpose.
Yeah.
And that notion of checking the box may not be a bad thing, especially when you're trying to get. I actually like the phrase you use, a foundation.
Right.
For the foundation level, and being able to check the box in these
Right.
foundational areas might not just be but smart but critical. Because even if we don't have a checklist internally, the regulators
Somebody
do.
else does. Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'd rather proactively check the box,
Right.
and maybe we should stop talking about it like it's so bad. You know.
Yeah, and I think that's really built on sort of the long past mentality that people really did use the checklist as the end all be all.
Right.
Right. And they said, I'm good as long as I've got the same checklist that the regulator is walking in with, and if he's going to check me off on these things and I'm doing that for myself, then I'm going to be good.
Right.
And I think that's sort of built on the past mentality that regulators strictly stuck with the checklist. And I think the mentality definitely has changed in the sense that there's still a checklist and they're still looking for those things. Risk-based approach doesn't mean that you get to remove certain parts of the checklist and say,
Right.
I can completely
Right.
ignore these 5
Right.
items. It just means, hey, when I look at this, I'm going to make sure you cover all of these areas, but I'm also going to ask you, what areas do you really need to cover? What are, your big exposure areas?
Right.
And what are you doing to address that higher level of risk in that area?
Right.
So I think, it really is a evolution of the checklist, and really the mindset around the checklist of whether or not it's the end all be all or whether or not it's really just a starting point, like you said, of making sure that you have that foundation built and then building upon that
Right.
to understand, where your higher risks are.
Right.